Hello and welcome. This year, Purdue Engineering is celebrating its 150th anniversary. As we honor this rich legacy, we're also spotlighting the Edwardson School of Industrial Engineering, where we're celebrating our incredible alumni and friends. The Robert E. Savage Scholarship was established in 1995 by Purdue IE Jim Savage to honor his father's accomplishments. This award is bestowed upon industrial engineering students who demonstrate excellence in academic achievement and leadership with a vision to apply their skills to the future benefit of society. Each recipient is designated as a Robert E. Savage Scholar and receives compensation to support their academic goals. To date, over $600,000 in financial support has been awarded to over 100 Savage Scholars. In today's special program, we're chatting with Jim and a group of Savage Scholars. So welcome everyone. It is wonderful to have you all here today. And to start, I would love for each of you to share a little about yourself, where you're from, when you graduated from Purdue, and where your career has taken you since graduation. Jim, we'll start off with you.
My name's Jim Savage. I'm from East Lansing, Michigan. I'm retired, but I worked for United Healthcare for most of my career.
Wonderful, thank you. Dave.
I'm David Hornthal. I live in Deerfield, Illinois, suburban Chicago. I graduated with my bachelor's in IE in 2002 and master's in IE in 2003. I spent the first 5 years of my career working in credit risk analytics and data science for Discover Card. And for the past 17 years, I've been running my own executive search firm focused on analytics and data science.
Thank you. Ryan.
I'm Ryan Tuomanoksa. I graduated with a degree in industrial engineering here in 2013. Since graduating, I've lived in Milwaukee working for GE Healthcare, different supply chain and logistics roles, and now I'm in a project management role.
I'm Josh Moore from Indianapolis originally. Came to Purdue for industrial engineering, got my bachelor's here in 2017, and now live with my wife in Chicago, and I work with Deloitte Consulting, do product management and software engineering related work.
I'm Tony Orr. I'm originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana, also a class of 17 grad with Josh. Been working with PepsiCo since graduating in a variety of supply chain roles, currently run our parts and equipment supply chain for all of North America.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Chandler. I am from Clarkston, Michigan, graduated from Purdue Industrial Engineering in 2019, so fairly recently. Right out of school, I started in a rotational program with Whirlpool Corporation up here in the Midwest. Before moving down to Houston, I now work as an engineer for Daikin, doing capacity analysis for their manufacturing facility.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you all for making the trip in. We really appreciate that. Jim, I'm gonna have, just for those that are watching that don't really know, can you share a little more about the scholarship, what inspired you to establish it, and describe a little about the unique way in which you kind of assess applicants for the scholarship and determine who's awarded?
Well, I'll always be grateful to Purdue IE for my education and career. My father, Robert Savage, was an engineer for General Motors for 44 years. He received his degree from General Motors Institute through their co-op program. And from that, he decided that I was going to get my degree in engineering from Purdue, which he thought was the best engineering school in the country. So the scholarship we felt was really an appropriate way to honor him and also his respect for Purdue IE. Next spring will mark 30 years that we've interviewed students and awarded scholarships. Usually 20 or more IE upperclassmen will apply. The criteria for evaluating is really not that much different than when you all were in school. We look at academic performance, leadership in industrial engineering or other engineering organizations or other campus organizations, research internships, as well as community service. From those applicants, we'll select 6 or 7 to interview in person. I feel that it's been important to me to be a part of that interview process. I hope that it has conveyed how important, I guess, the scholarship is to me, as well as my appreciation to the students for the time they take in applying for the award. From those interviews, we will usually select 3 or 4 students for the scholarship awards. The decision's always very difficult because all of these students are exceptional and very deserving. I think the interview process is really the most important to me personally. I look forward to coming every spring to interview the students. It's just amazing to me how much they can accomplish here at Purdue in such a short amount of time. They have incredible work ethics. Their professional maturity far exceeds their years, and they bring so much positive energy to the interviews. It just makes me proud to be associated with Purdue IE. I really wish that and I think most of you feel the same way. I wish that every IE alum would have that same experience with these students and realize the incredible talent that our program turns out every year. One other aspect of the scholarship that's really been important to me is it's allowed me to build relationships with the students who have received the scholarships, such as like all of you. I've been fortunate to maintain ongoing communication with about 60 of the students that have received scholarships. And so over the years, in addition to getting photos of weddings and new babies, which is really great, also these individuals will update me on their careers and their accomplishments, as well as challenges that they're confronted with. And I just can't possibly tell you how much that means to me that they continue to take the time to share with me that type of information about their professional lives and their families.
Thank you. I'm directing it over to you all here, just thinking about how has being a Savage Scholar kind of impacted you personally, your academics. Obviously, there was some help academically with that, but then maintaining relationships with Jim over the years, and just how that has helped you or impacted you, what that has meant to you as well. And we can start with David and kind of go down the line again for some organization, if you'd like.
So I always look forward to my annual holiday email exchange with Jim. And as he said, that interview process and the relationship that you form, I can't think of another scholarship where the endower or the giver actually forms a bond and a relationship with the recipients. I applied for a bunch of scholarships when I was here, and it was always just fill something out, turn it in, and hopefully you get the letter saying congratulations. But Jim takes it to a whole new level by not only interviewing the people, but continuing to form that relationship. And I graduated over 20 years ago, and I still have a great friend and a mentor in Jim, and that's the only scholarship for that. For me, the thing that really, I think, stuck with me also about his scholarship was I came into Purdue IE as a legacy. My father was a Purdue Industrial Engineer. He was an outstanding industrial engineer. He was on the IE Advisory Council. So I've been coming to Purdue IE since I was a kid. And a lot of people knew me when I came here that I didn't remember. And I'd go into some of my first IE classes. Oh my gosh, I remember you, and you were this big. So I kind of came in with a lot of expectations and a name associated with me, and winning the Savage Scholarship was really that opportunity to say, hey, I am my own person. Like, I might have come in with these expectations and I'm going to exceed them because I'm going to win this prestigious scholarship.
So I think like a big thing for me coming to Purdue, like both my parents went to Purdue, knowing like what the like alumni impact that they've had like in their careers, and then also just that like loyalty to Purdue and connection, and getting to see that like firsthand being here after hearing about it growing up, I think was a great experience for me. And I too enjoy getting that email every year and catching up and keeping that connection even 11, 12 years later now.
Yeah, I think with having a kid on the way, you do a lot of reflecting. And I've reflected on my time at Purdue in just the last 10, 15 years. And I feel like there's these moments in your life that, are very significant. And I think that for me, the Savage Scholarship was one of those moments. It does, one piece is getting the scholarship. That's tremendous. But I think more than that was having you and your son sort of validate all the hard work that I had put in to Purdue for 4 years, and feeling like, frankly, there's people kind of in my corner that are there encouraging me. And the thing that I did not expect is what you all are describing, which is this relationship that we've now had the last 8 or 9 years. And one of the things that I appreciate most is there's that encouragement, there's that authenticity and genuine interest that you share in my life, and I think others of us. The thing that I really appreciate, though, is that it goes far beyond accomplishments. And for something that's like a scholarship that's set on academic and professional success, those are all really important. But I think one thing that I really appreciate from the way that our first interview went, and just even our communications, is how much you value what's really important in life, which is family, personal development, even what Elizabeth was mentioning around investment in society and your community. And it's just been neat to actually build a genuine friendship over the last 8 years, far beyond a scholarship.
And building off what's already been said, I think the intentionality that you show is what we embody within the School of IE and what we want our alumni to look like. So I think the Savage Scholarships not only it encapsulates what a full person can bring. I mean, your interview process is well beyond what an academic rigor of Purdue can provide. You take the time to get to know the candidates. You invest in us beyond financial. I think it helped me redefine what investing meant in people. As I've entered into my career, thinking about what I do for the folks that I now mentor and coach, and what I've learned from you over the 6 or 7 years since I've been off campus, has really framed the way that I lead people now today. And it not only just came out of the interactions we had on campus through an interview process for a scholarship, because like to Dave's point, we all applied for a lot of scholarships, but this one scholarship I don't think well defines what you've built with the school and with the students that you invest your time and your resources into. So I don't think we can say enough about the character that you bring to the school. I think that's written in the name Savage, and I think for us to be able to carry that and be a Savage scholar by nature, I think speaks very highly of what you've invested back into the school and its students.
Yeah, I would echo what everyone else has said. You guys said it very well. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned just from the time I've known Jim, my time at Purdue Industrial Engineering, and working into the beginning of my career, is just that hard work gets noticed. Even if you aren't the flashiest person, you're not out there advertising that you're the smartest, the brightest, you do it all. There are people in your corner that notice how hard you're working and the relationships you're developing, and that takes you so far in life, personal and professional.
Curious if anyone has any specific stories of times like after graduation where like you've reached out to Jim and received some guidance, help, mentorship, something that's been really valuable to you.
I have one. And it started with the annual holiday emails, the initiation point of communication again, which I frankly wish I did more often, working on that. But it was a point in my career where I was making a large pivot, not only within the work that I was responsible for, but also from a leadership standpoint. And for me, being very young into my professional career, looking for ways and mentors that I could reach out to, not only in the workplace, because it's important to have mentors and sponsors in the workplace, but outside of that. And my immediate turn was to Jim. And for me, that was just like, that again just encapsulates what that meant to me at the point in time. while I was a student, while that scholarship took place, while it helped me get through Purdue, now carried into the professional environment 3 or 4 years later, and my initial reaction was to turn to Jim Savage. And for me, that just, again, was encapsulated exactly what I think you intend for these programs to be. But I was making a pivot from being a kind of that middle manager to managing managers and getting in a bigger organization. And for me, it was one of those tasks that, and I'm a basketball guy by nature, and that's where Jim and I really get connected. I took coaching mentality into how I wanted to approach the workplace, and being able to translate those two things from a skill set with Jim's background and all of the work that he had done in his professional career and also the basketball side of things, really helped me make that step in my professional development, but also thinking again about how you invest in an organization and a culture is as important as the money that we put behind things that we do. So again, I think that for me was just taking Jim Savage and trying to translate that from the scholarship into how I can apply this directly into what I'm going through now.
I mean, I know you mentioned it before, like the annual email I always enjoy getting, and it like holiday time of year, you get the cards from people, and it's just the standard, maybe signed like your name, but the thought that he puts into it, and the building year on year, like it's not just the resetting, like how was your 2023? Like that's one thing I always really appreciate, and I also like it's like in school, right? You're in your semesters, years, you kind of have these like natural resetting points, and when you get into the real world, I think that's one thing I've found is taking that time to pause. All of a sudden, it's like the years pass by. Yeah. So I enjoy taking the time, like really sitting down, thinking about, like reflecting. How was this year, right? How would I summarize it? Because like few people take the time to like ask that. So I enjoy that, taking that time, and really thinking back and thinking of the positives and thinking about the forward year. And that's really, having that email has really helped that cycle for me.
For me, like Jim, not only do we share our Purdue Industrial Engineering education, but we also share our Kellogg MBA education. So after working for 3 years, I was thinking about going back to a part-time MBA program, and being in Chicago, there's 2 fantastic programs to choose from, and I remember seeking out guidance and advice from different people, and Jim was one of the people that I went to, and just kind of saying like, hey, is this something I want to consider? What is kind of an IE going through MBA, career trajectory going to take me? And Jim was able to provide some great advice, and doing my MBA at Northwestern was again one of the best professional decisions that I ended up making.
The thought is kind of fun. Any advice for students who are applying for this scholarship and getting, and more importantly, prepping for the interview? Is there any advice you'd give them?
Bring some good stories.
Yes, absolutely. Especially Purdue basketball stories. Yeah.
And I think, as Jim alluded to earlier, the interview process is holistic candidate. It's not just about academic or coursework or projects that you're delivering on. It's really about who you are as a person, right? We all have very different backgrounds. We all went through Purdue IE at some point in our career, so we have that checkbox that we share. What's those differentiating factors for who you are as a person? Because Jim and his son are very genuine in their interview. So bringing your character to the forefront, being a person at the end of the day in an interview process is difficult for some, right? We've all been through interviews before, and we've all kind of progressed through that. The first round of interviews you're doing, especially as a student, can be a little daunting, especially when you're going after scholarship opportunities as prestigious as this one is. So bringing your whole self into that interview process, I think, is one thing to help you differentiate. As we were talking before this about the stories of the differentiating factors that you still remember from candidacies going into interview processes, it's more about that, I think. When it comes to what Jim and the group is evaluating for, as much as it is your Purdue Industrial Engineer, you've already invested in that as it is.
I'll give the same advice I give to students who are interviewing, IEs that are interviewing at Deloitte, which is, just build a genuine human-to-human connection. I think sometimes we overthink, I'm the interviewee and that's the interviewer, and there's this, giant chasm between the two of us. It's just 2 people at the end of the day. And one of the things I appreciate most about the way Jim conducts these interviews is he conducts them with kindness and humility, and respect, and so just bringing those things in, building an authentic relationship and connection, and I think that'll, you may not get the scholarship, but at the very worst, you'll have a great conversation.
Yeah.
And I think if you're considering applying, right, I know when I reflect back, like a lot of scholarships, it's like, I don't know if I have the GPA for that one, or probably I'm not going to have a chance with SAT scores or whatever it might be. Like this one focuses so much more on like the impact you've had as a student. So if you've had an impact, like this is a good opportunity for you to be recognized for that.
Yeah, I think as we've alluded to earlier too, just know that I know you probably apply to a lot of scholarships. This one, as we mentioned, is a lifelong relationship, kind of almost a lifelong scholarship. Yeah, the money maybe only lasts for a certain period of time, but the relationship that we continue to have with Jim really is lifelong. I mean, my parents met Jim when I got the scholarship, and I still, every time Jim checks in, I'm like, oh, like he's doing well, and like asking about him. My fiance now knows him through his annual emails, maybe even though we haven't met face to face. But just those kind of things. It's a very worthwhile investment for your life.
You know, Jim, in the spirit of thinking about giving back as alumni, you know, in position, the pay it forward component of this, what are your thoughts?
Well, I guess in a general sense, something that's been very gratifying to me is to see where so many of our IE graduates and you know, particularly all of you here today, have given back, have given of themselves to the program. I know I didn't want to say much in terms of taking away from anyone's particular comments, but I know, and I'd like for you all to really elaborate, but I know David has come back repeatedly for the IE 200 class, which is incredibly valuable, you know, for these students to provide that information and to answer their questions, you know, for somebody in the field. I know that, you know, Tony with the senior design projects, and I guess what was it just recently with IE CEO homecoming panel, just in September, and well, and all of you with recruiting trips, with the industrial roundtable. Where, as I think was mentioned earlier, these IE students, I don't know if the right term is role model, but you know, they have all these questions, and I mean, you know this better than I do, and you know, they're looking for people they can, you know, they look up to, they can relate to, that they know can relate to them. It's like, these things that I'm worrying about, that I'm wondering about, you've been there. You've gone through this. You know, how did you approach all of this? What was your thinking process? And I mean, it's just great to see this. And this just helps build the program even further. And no wonder why IE's at the top of the list. So anyway, anyone that would want to elaborate on that, you know, I'd certainly like to hear it.
Well, I think we'd all include scholarship as part of the student experience, right? As we all graduate and think and reflect back on our 4 or 5, however long we were here on campus, that's an element of the experience that we got, was getting the chance to meet you and go through the scholarship. But I think what we're getting into now is what else frames giving back. There's many touch points that you can do that, whether it's coming back for seminar courses, whether it's coming back and be part of IR and recruiting the next level of engineering talent off of Purdue, because we know how well that can do for industry, or it's coming back and speaking on panels, or it's being involved in senior design projects. I've done 7 in the past 3 years because I've seen the return, right? Not necessarily for the company and what my team's working on or the deliverables that are coming out, but for the students themselves that are getting into that senior year, trying to find themselves as they get ready for that transition that we've all been through. What are those things that they got to start thinking about? And those kind of environments and engagements, beyond me being able to financially give back through a scholarship forum, is something that I think engages alumni at a different element. But I think you kind of kicked that off for me. It's like the passion that we all had for Purdue while we were here is shared amongst all of us. But what do we do when we get out? How do we get back to that next? How do we reach back, pull somebody along that journey with us? And I think all of those opportunities, not only within the School of IE, but in engineering as a whole. I was here for IR this year, about a month ago now, with our CHRO, who is a executive sponsor here at PepsiCo, Patrick McLaughlin, and he was preparing for a meeting with President Chang. to talk about PepsiCo and Purdue. And it wasn't so much about, I've given money back to Purdue IE through the scholarship for their senior design project. It wasn't, he didn't want to know that. He wanted to know all the intangibles. What are the things that are unmeasurable, the experience, the student body engagement that we come back and we do. And so putting all that together really, for perspective setting, was like, there is a lot of investment back in Purdue. But there's a reason for it. You can call it a passion project for most of us here. There's just that element of we want to be able to contribute to that next generation of students that are getting ready to jump into the workforce or get ready to go into their next venture. Not all of us are going to get the chance to do it through the same scholarship opportunity. So what ways that we find to reinvest our own time back into the school? I think that for me, the scholarship that I received from you was just that element of there are ways to re-engage. And then the fact that you do follow up with those post-school tells me that there's that repetitiveness to being active on campus as an alum.
I think mentorship's important to have your entire life. You should always have mentors, and you should always be, I think, looking for people that are that next generation. With that being said, I think college presents a unique opportunity because there's so much transformation that happens in those 4 years. Like I think back to when I started at Purdue, I knew I wanted to do industrial engineering, but apart from that, I knew nothing. I didn't know what industry I wanted to be in. I didn't know any of these companies. I didn't know how to talk to a recruiter. And in those 4 or 5 years that I was at Purdue, there was just radical transformation that happened in my understanding of who I am, of what I'm interested in, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. And I think that the mentorship I experienced at Purdue really helped catalyze that growth process. And so I think it's a unique opportunity for people that are interested in mentoring and giving back to people that are willing to change and grow and open to it. And so yeah, I would definitely, I've gotten a lot out of my relationships with students on campus throughout the years, have seen a lot of openness and growth in those relationships, a lot of gratitude, and would encourage others who are interested in giving back. These 4 or 5 years is a unique window in people's lives.
I think Jim was saying that one of the questions he sometimes asks in his interviews is, what would you go back and change in the past year? I'm pretty sure if you asked all of us, would you go back and change your college experience? None of us would change it. We all loved our time at Purdue. I mean, it shaped our lives for the better, and that's the reason to give back, so that next generation can have the same amazing experiences that we all had that shaped our lives into the wonderful things that they are today. And there are lots of ways to give back, right? Donating your time, work projects, mentorship, financially being able to contribute to the School of Industrial Engineering. For me, my passion time at Purdue was split between 2 things: industrial engineering and the marching band. I still come back every other homecoming for alumni marching band. And a couple years ago, the marching band finally got a new building. They built Hagel Hall on campus, and we got out of Elliott. And my wife and I were fortunate enough to be able to give back, and my wife's a mental health professional, and we actually endowed the wellness room in Hagel Hall in our name as our way to give back to the university for something that was important for both of us, mental health for her and the band for me. So, beyond just IE, being able to contribute to the university to help that next generation. And I was there this morning because I wanted to put some materials in the room, and it was so great to hear about how the students are using the room and how it's benefiting the current students. Just really hits home.
Yeah.
I think just reflecting on what was said there, I think back to especially the first few years out of school. I was much more heavily involved now with kids and other things. It's a little more complicated, but especially those first few years for me were so critical to make sure I spent so much time investing in on campus and student organizations that continued to grow. So spending time with the new presidents of whatever organizations or leaders, and this is what we learned, so you don't have to repeat our mistakes, right? And that's that, especially that first few years out of school is such a unique opportunity to start to take what you're learning in the real world and translate it back to students who were there when you were there. But also help to establish your legacy or continue that legacy of what you started on campus.
What we in IE, we try to instill is this family. Once you're an industrial engineer, it's not just when you're here, it's not just to get the piece of paper and the credential, absolutely important, but it's the idea of this is a community where we can all grow and build together. And so things like, I know several of you are involved with the two-way mentoring program where alumni and students are paired up for a semester, and they have bi-weekly talks, and they just get to mentor each other, and they share back and forth. And it's two-way because, yes, the students are getting that insight from you all because they have no kind of mental model for what it's like to be a professional. But then you all get to connect back to the school as well. And so we try and instill and create opportunities where it instills that idea of Purdue IE is here for you it can be part of your life forever if you want it to be, coming back once a year, getting Jimmy John's and having some conversations with students, like that can be a highlight for sure. It is for us. And so, it can come down to that. It can be offering your time at varying seasons. Kids is a crazy time. And so coming back for class years is always a highlight in IE 200. Students always appreciate, here's the classes and here's where you use them.
I have a question for all of you. It's been my experience that just in knowing the individuals that have received scholarships, that they represent such a wide range of professions. It's impressed upon me the diverse skill set that is provided by industrial engineering. And without going into, I'd like to go into detail, but anyway, so that's just say what you all think.
The bridge from graduation to IE equals CEO.
Yes.
There's a variety of pathways to get there.
Yeah.
You think about the careers that we all have amongst the representation here. I think that's one of the hardest parts for when I talk to students now, staying connected, is those seniors trying to translate my background in academics to X for my first job or Y for my next one, or getting into this industry. There is a wide variety of industries here, job experiences here, and it's only going to continue to broaden. The panels I've come back and spoke on, people have started their own companies. I'm in the corporate world with my work. He's in consulting. There's such a variety of where IE fits that it really comes down to who you are as a person, what you want to do. And that's why I tell candidates all the time during interviews, it's not so much the roles and the things that we need done as a corporation. It's what is your skill set, what are your interests, what drives and motivates you, and how we translate that into a workplace. IEs fit everywhere. If I have to put it bluntly, they fit everywhere. I've seen IEs and my classmates, coworkers be successful in a multitude of things, to where it's really like, where do you want to go apply the background that you have? You become such a strong engineer coming out of Purdue, especially this program as highly ranked as it is, that you really get the chance to translate that into the career that you want. And I think that's unique to the IE profession, or what IEs bring to the industry in particular. That really creating your own pathway to what that IE equals CEO really means.
So I also come from a legacy industrial engineering family. My dad was an industrial engineer at Purdue. He had a long career in a lot of different areas at Eli Lilly. So he was in manufacturing, he was in sales, he was in data and analytics. I think that's one easy example of just the breadth of industrial engineering. Is industrial engineering allows you to actually have many different careers. And then I also just think back on my experience. My brother and I were both industrial engineers as well, both Savage scholars. And I work with a lot of consultants, which is great because there's individuals with a lot of domain experience and expertise, which is really important. But with consulting, you're always faced with an unknown. You're always faced with a problem that someone can't figure out or might be just on the edge of people's knowledge. And so what you require then is critical thinking and the ability to be able to look at something that no one's ever thought about before and apply a clear process and structure and apply systems thinking and the types of things that we learn in industrial engineering. So I found that I've been able to come into Deloitte Consulting. I have very little, frankly, expertise on software engineering or product management, but because I have my industrial engineering background, critical thinking, problem-solving skills, I'm able to provide a tremendous value to my team that otherwise would not exist.
I think the academic program in IE really positions students to do just about anything, and it starts with the core classes. And we take the weed out course from pretty much every difficult engineering, right? We take circuit analysis and thermodynamics and statics. And most of us are probably never, ever going to use any of that information in our professional career. Well, what it teaches us to do is to solve difficult problems. And then when you get to your upperclassmen years and you start to take your electives, then you get to focus on the stuff that's really interesting, whether it's operations or human factors or data and analytics. Right? There's so many different areas that IE can really position you for what you want to do, but we also have stuff that only we can do. I work in executive search, and there are positions in operations research and revenue management and pricing optimization that if you haven't taken linear programming, we're the only discipline that learns that. And so they're looking for people specifically with IE degrees because we have something that no one else can. So we can do other people's jobs, but other people can't do our jobs.
So I've had several different jobs since I started my career in 2019, really. So it's a pretty short time, but I've gone from manufacturing to procurement to project management and strategy, kind of all over the place. And I think what allows me to do that and gain all those experiences is really the systems mindset that Purdue Industrial Engineer kind of equipped me with. It's valuable in any industry, as we've talked about, the ability just to see something, see the bigger picture and break it down into smaller pieces that you can really tackle each challenge one at a time, and then pull the bigger picture back together again to kind of complete the story is something that sets industrial engineers apart, especially from other majors.
I would also add that the faculty here does a fantastic job of staying on the cutting edge and creating new courses for the students. I mean, I graduated 20 years ago, and even some of the core courses like IE 332 are vastly different now than what it was when I took it, and it's a heck of a lot more relevant now. But all these new 400 level and 500 level courses that the professors are creating within their research area to help prepare the students for kind of what is new, whether it's healthcare operations or supply chain analytics or machine learning and AI. We are getting a much better toolkit that these students are able to take because of the outstanding faculty and the research that they're doing.
What are the future industry areas, maybe like the new places where you guys can see IEs really being able to have an impact? We know they make everything better, so really anywhere. But are there any specific examples or trends that you're starting to see just as you're out in industry in your jobs, or you say like, you know what, an IE in that role, wow, that can make a huge difference?
I've always looked at IE as transferable or translational engineering, because what I think we just heard about is our ability to touch different parts of an organization and be that centroid of how we translate that to a deliverable. One thing I think we all experienced over the past handful of years is the importance of having redundancy or a contingency plan for a supply chain. I made a pivot in my career at the point in time when the pandemic was rolling around to get into supply chain style work, and I think the skills and the mindset that I brought from a systems and process engineering background really broached a lot of those gaps that existed just from we've always done it this way, or this is the way the organization's set up, or this is the way that we've always thought about kind of redundancy in our work. I think the way that IE, the problem solving, the tactics that we learned from that technical aptitude standpoint translates to me, I'm speaking a little selfishly because I need it right now too, is having somebody with supply chain interest with an industrial engineering background, because I think they coincide very well. I think it's very organic for that transition to happen in careers. I've seen it happen not only in my own but in others. But I just think that breadth of engineering discipline work that we have to do as students, the involvement that we all get involved in on campus and leadership capacity, supply chain becomes a very natural fit as careers progress from what I've seen, and it's a need.
Ryan, you're in GE Healthcare, so curious about that.
I mean, I think what we're experiencing is there's the cycles are happening more frequently. So where you used to have like longer time horizons for planning, now as things are more condensed, like more variables that you have to consider, like is there another pandemic, right? Like all of these things, and business is getting more complicated as you try to drive more growth. There's more opportunities to and need for people who can connect multiple functions together that might not have worked before. And I think it's kind of creates a lot of opportunity for people with an industrial engineering background to strike. So no, maybe not a specific one, but it just seems like just in general growth there and an opportunity for industrial engineering.
Yeah. From the school to you all, thank you for your investment of your time, your expertise, your perspective. Working with undergrads, we only have so much knowledge. I'm like, I don't know what it's like to be a practicing industrial engineer in industry. you do. So being able to make those connections is really, really valuable for us at the school. So thank you all for what you have done in terms of just remaining connected with the school after graduation and for many years and still more to come.